What if I told you that a busy mind isn't a sign you're bad at meditation? In fact, it's almost the opposite. The real reason most people struggle with meditation isn't because they think too much. It's because they're trying to achieve something meditation was never designed to do. And once you see that, meditation starts to feel completely different. If you've ever tried to meditate, this might sound familiar. You sit down, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and within seconds, your mind is everywhere. You're replaying yesterday's conversation, planning tomorrow, remembering something embarrassing from years ago, wondering what you're having for dinner. Eventually, you open your eyes and think, well, I'm obviously terrible at meditating. Or maybe you tell yourself, my mind is just too active. It's one of the most common conclusions people come to. But what if that's based on a misunderstanding? Most of us approach meditation like it's a battle. There's you, and then there's your mind. The goal is to somehow force it to become quiet. If thoughts appear, you're failing. If your attention wanders, you're failing. If you spend the whole session thinking, well, you clearly can't meditate. But imagine trying to smooth out the surface of a lake with your hands. The harder you try, the more ripples you create. Meditation often becomes exactly that, a constant effort to fix your own mind, to finally make it behave. Here's something interesting. Have you ever chosen your very next thought? Not the general topic, the exact next thought. Most of us can't. Thoughts simply appear, one after another, almost like sounds arriving from outside. If that's true, then perhaps thoughts aren't really something you're consciously producing every moment. They're simply happening. And if thoughts are simply happening, why do we spend so much energy fighting them? Imagine you're sitting in a park. Children are laughing. Birds are singing. Cars are passing in the distance. You don't usually try to silence every sound. You simply let them come and go. But when the sounds happen inside your own head, something changes. Suddenly we believe they shouldn't be there. We judge ourselves for having them. Ironically, it's often this resistance that creates the feeling of mental chaos, not the thoughts themselves. Try not to think about a pink elephant. It's almost impossible. The effort itself creates the thought. Meditation often works the same way. The harder we chase silence, the louder the mind appears to become. So if meditation isn't about stopping thoughts, what is it? Here's another way of looking at it. Meditation isn't really about changing your experience at all. It's about becoming familiar with something that's already present. Whether your mind is busy or completely quiet. Think about this. Right now, you're aware of these words. A few minutes ago, you were aware of whatever you were doing before this video. Later today, you'll be aware of conversations, music, traffic, stress, excitement. The content of your experience is always changing, but one thing remains remarkably consistent: the simple fact that you're aware. Meditation isn't trying to create that awareness. It's already here. It's the one thing that has quietly been present through every experience you've ever had. What changes is where your attention becomes absorbed. Imagine watching a film in a cinema. The story pulls you in completely. For 2 hours, you laugh, worry, celebrate, and forget you're sitting in a theatre. Then someone nearby coughs. For a brief moment, you remember the cinema itself. The screen never disappeared. You were simply absorbed in the movie. Meditation isn't about getting rid of the movie. It's about remembering the screen on which the movie is playing. Thoughts continue. Emotions continue. Life continues. But every now and then, you notice the quiet space in which it's all unfolding. This changes the entire feeling of meditation. Instead of asking, "How do I stop thinking?" you begin asking, "Can I simply notice that thoughts are appearing?" Instead of wrestling with every thought, you become curious about them. They arrive, they stay for a while, then they leave. Meanwhile, the awareness that notices them never seems to be in quite the same rush. You don't have to create it. You don't have to improve it. It's already present before the next thought appears. It's present while thoughts are racing. And it's still present when the mind eventually becomes quiet. One thing many people notice when they stop trying so hard to quiet the mind is that the mind often becomes quieter on its own. Not because they've forced it, but because they've stopped adding another layer of struggle. It's like muddy water. If you keep stirring it, it stays cloudy. If you leave it alone, it naturally begins to settle. The settling isn't something you do. It's simply what happens when the interference stops. And if the water doesn't settle today, that's okay too. The goal was never perfectly still water. It was simply to notice the water. So the next time you meditate and your mind feels busier than ever, see if you can resist calling it a bad meditation. Instead of asking, "How do I make all of this stop?" try asking, "What is it that's already aware of all this?" Not as a philosophical question, just as something to quietly notice. You don't need the thoughts to disappear. You don't need to push them away. You don't even need to follow them. They can simply be another part of your experience, just like the birds in the park, just like the traffic outside. One possibility is that the person who thinks they're terrible at meditation may simply be noticing for the very first time how active their mind has always been. Meditation didn't create the noise, it revealed it. And that's not failure. That's the beginning of seeing more clearly. So maybe the real reason you've struggled to meditate was never because your mind was too busy. Maybe it was because you believed the goal was to make the mind quiet. But perhaps meditation isn't the practice of becoming peaceful. It's the practice of noticing the peace that was always present. If this changed the way you think about meditation, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like more everyday problems reframed through a different lens, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.